Hello, dear friends. I just wanted to share an experience that I had because I realized it was kind of a microcosm of the macrocosm, quite possibly. And please forgive me. I'm going to fuss with my hair because I haven't looked in the mirror much today. It's been that kind of day, and now I'm looking in the mirror. Okay, so um, the other day, yesterday, I did an interview that I've actually been waiting a really long time for, and then it just kind of came through last minute. And I was interviewed by an absolutely gracious, beautiful, kind, deeply spiritually connected woman named Echo Bodine, who has a channel called Bold and Brave TV, a YouTube platform, and there are a lot of other people on that platform, but she's one of them. And if I can figure out how to upload that to my channel, I will do that. But anyway, um, if you look for Echo Bodine and put my name in there, it'll definitely come up. But the interview was absolutely wonderful. Oh, hi, Raymond. Well, hopefully this won't even be that long. Raymond just said he's got 15 minutes. Um, so what happened is this was an incredible leap forward for me. And there is a book called The Big Leap, and it's by, is it Gary Hendricks? I don't know. But it's the principle of just being afraid to expand and to step out of our comfort zone into greater happiness, greater abundance, all these things. And we're basically just afraid. We're wired to be afraid of the unknown. So when we have a big new opportunity, a big expansion, that typical situation of like, oh, I'm in a new relationship. This is better than anything I've ever experienced. So you go and sabotage it because you don't feel worthy of it. It's kind of the same principle. It's not just worthiness, it's fear of the unknown. So I had this fantastic interview. It lasted about an hour, and the last third of it, so the first third of it, you might be curious about my history and how I got where I am because she really dove into that, and it was very interesting, I think, especially to her listeners. It's kind of a Christian or post-Christian community curious about new age metaphysical stuff is kind of that's why they're bold and brave. They're stepping over the line to learn about all these things. And that's my background, of course. So anyway, the second half of the third of the interview was about the cards, and then the third of it, she channeled a message for me, and it just came through. Hi, Robert. I love it when I catch you live. Thanks for opening the community with your knowledge. That is so kind of you to say that. I feel so frickin' ordinary, but when I have an experience that I feel like is a big aha for me, I get this feeling that, oh, this is one of those things that everybody's going through, and then I make a video. So it's been a long time since I had one of those because I've just been through a really difficult period that lasted about a month. Um, but anyway, I'll go into that later, maybe. So what happened after I gave this interview, in the evening, we just taped it, and then she did it. She posted it live so that there was a live chat and people were typing in their birthdays, and I was watching the replay. And so I was responding to people and telling them about their birthdays and their cards and stuff like that. And it was this incredibly sweet group. There was about 40 people watching at the time, and it's gotten just over 100 views. So like this isn't like my breakthrough to fame. There was something else qualitatively about this that was very threatening to my metabolic status quo of this is how big I am. I have great visions of doing bigger, better things. I think with 2024, it's just what's happening that we're moving into a completely new chapter. And I think that it wouldn't be too far of a stretch to say that we could see some global self-sabotage where it's not, yeah, the dark side of this human and the earth equation definitely is sabotaging, but for kind of different reasons. Is it because they're afraid of expansion, or is this more about how we might sabotage ourselves moving into something really big and new and wonderful because it's just uncomfortable. It's just uncomfortable. So anyway, after I listened to this playback and everybody gave all their praise, I just went down into a depression. Yeah, it is true. Thank you, Slim. And then I listened to oh gosh, I listened to a video about this guy, his last name is Starbuck, and it was just an interview about a movie that he made called The War on Children. The Edge of Wonder guys did a really good video on the war on children, and I couldn't even bear to watch it. I got really close. I think you can watch it for free, but it's something that everyone needs to see. It's a really big deal. Wow, were you really? So this yeah, Raymond, this is an example of I listened and this is in alignment with where we're all at. Anyway, I've been trying to stay out of the cesspool of the super dark shit that's been happening on the planet, and I just couldn't stop listening to this interview. I used to hate Roseanne Barr, and now I just love her. She is so needed in the community. Her voice is so needed. She has her own channel. She interviews amazing people, and she's really softened and she's woken up in a really big way. Anyway, so that kind of took me down. Anyway, I had to do a bunch of clearing and saging to get that energy out of the room because I was like, I don't want to go down there, but I think it's making a reappearance. And I think that more than just those that know about it are gonna start seeing stuff. There's a gradual softening, and on The View today, I didn't hear the sound, I was at the club, but it's like they were forced to play. They put up this statistic, which I'm not gonna say it because I don't wanna get political on this channel, but to me, it was evidence of having to reveal something that's been covered up for a while, and there are so many tiny little signs of this. Anyway, I'm getting off of this self-sabotage. So this morning, I got up, I did my things, I had a really good workout because 'cause I'm recovering from a slip disc that Jesus actually healed after 3 weeks of misery, and so my workout was really good, and then I come home, and then I totally tank, and my thighs felt very, very strange, and it wasn't the workout. They felt weird before, and so I finally collapsed into my bed under the covers, hiding, saying, I have to push everyone and even thoughts of people who love me most. I have to push them out of my head because I don't know what I'm going through, but I'm just totally freaked out and crashed. So I'm having this conversation with Jesus, and the very first thing he does is um, well, there's this practice. Okay, so you know the movie Men Who Stare at Goats? They're telling me to share this practice. Just little suggestions, little containers can just be like, oh, I want to try that. Um, Men Who Stare at Goats, the actual guy, there's a real person. He's played by Jeff Bridges, and he's kind of the guru guy. Well, he's a real person, and I forget what his name is, but he wrote a whole book based on this ancient, it's like a kind of like a martial art or something, but it's a very, very old system. And this meditation he gives is that you just settle yourself and then you visualize that you're going on this little path, this little road, and you see Jesus out up ahead of you. And he says, Jesus specifically. And I'm like, well, that's very interesting. And then you go forward and you meet with Jesus. And if you cry, you know it's real. And I cry every single time. And I'm always expecting that, maybe it won't be real at some point, like it'll feel like I'm making it up. But I cry every time. And so Jesus came, and what he did after just holding me for a really long time in this place of acceptance, not trying to fix it or anything, just acceptance. He started massaging my thighs. And like it wasn't weird like that. It was like just so loving. It's exactly what I needed. And then he massaged my feet, and then I went, "Oh, my legs are about forward momentum. I'm afraid of moving forward. I'm having a self-actualization hangover." And and then after I just laid there for a long time, the final realization I had is that I have a lot of shame around this self-sabotage because I think of my mom. I think of how my mom, "Hey, Emerging Spirit Girl Boss TV Goddess Sharon, you found me on my other channel." Oh no, this is Kismet. Oh shit, I meant to do this on my other channel. That's why you guys are here. I do my own, like, my awareness, my insight videos on my other channel. I usually reserve this for the cards, but I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, so yeah, this isn't about cards at all. other than the fact that I'm going to begin teaching. And the reason I haven't scheduled that class is because fear of expansion, fear of self actualization. And then when I could finally take the lid off of this incredible fear around, I mean, the shame around the fear, because there are a lot of things my mom never self actualized. They got married in the 50s, so it was that era. And, um, and then I realized, okay, I can let go of this shame. This is just where I am. This is just the experience I'm having. And then, yeah, it happens. And then all of us, yeah, it happens. Oops, wrong channel. I think that's what you're referring to. So, anyway, that's just kind of what I wanted to pass along, is that there may be a more legitimate, it's always legitimate. If it's you're just here having a human experience. It is what it is. There's no such thing as legitimate or illegitimate. It's what you're having. But a bigger reason for the fact that we may be having this is because 2024 represents, I think we were going like this through the Kali Yuga, really ugly and dark. And then, like, we started to go up. And I think their trajectory is increasing. The rate of awakening and change is speeding up. And I think this year marks a really big, we're gonna go 2 miles an hour faster, and it's a lot faster than what we've been used to. And I think that it's going to show up in our personal lives in terms of, what have I always wanted to do? Where do I want to go? What is this spirit moving within me? Okay, so here's something else really cool. Since I'm on this vein, my friend sent me some nice music. It was Christian music, and I didn't really like it that much, but it was very deeply moving to her. So I go down in the comments, and comment after comment after comment, people were sharing these miraculous healings. One person said, I was laying in my bed paralyzed, and Jesus said, get up and walk. So I got up and I walked. I've been walking ever since. I was like, okay, we don't know how paralyzed he was, if he was really paralyzed. But there was story after story after story. And I was like, okay, when is this happening? And it was all recent, within the last month. So I made a comment and I was like, I had a herniated disc, and after 3 weeks of suffering, Jesus healed it. Or the Father healed it, Source healed it. I don't know. Jesus facilitated the healing by helping me open up and receive, which I think is a real fundamental. So what I said is, I believe that God is pouring out his spirit upon all mankind, in those days. I think it's a Joel prophecy. And that's one of the things about the end times. And I think, like Gene Decode, we're not on a Revelations, tribulation, catastrophic kind of shit end time. I think we're on a different timeline. And I think we've averted a lot of really, really terrible shit. And it all comes down to the individual raising their frequency. And for me, I always think of, how can I raise my vibration in a kind of, what do I do? Like, I kind of gear myself up. And then I always realize it's about acceptance for me in this moment. It's about deeper self compassion. It's about realizing that infinite love is here in every molecule, and love is in every cell of my body. It's about settling down into the moment. That's always how I raise my frequency, is I have to come back and relocate myself and realize, oh, this is the center of the universe. This is where source comes from. So, a big long comment from Raymond. I think they may mess with CERN on the day of the eclipse, and I think they were messing CERN to shift our timelines. Oh, I think so too. I think they've gone back and messed with the timeline from right around, it was the whole Tartaria thing. I think they started messing with it. They probably were before then, but when we really started to accelerate was at the right around 1900, when, like, Madame Curie and Tesla and Einstein and, Westinghouse, all these geniuses they were just flooding the planet. And I think they're like, we don't want them to wake up. We have to fuck with the timeline. And then I think with World War II, they fucked with it, and then the Nazis, and then the reptilians, and then I think they fucked with it again with JFK. I think they've gone back and changed that a number of times, and maybe it's a temporal war where the good guys are going back to, because it used to be 4 people in the vehicle, and now it's 6 in the JFK vehicle. How freaking bizarre is that? And the middle seat had John Connolly and his wife. Have you ever heard of John Connolly's wife giving an interview to Larry King about her time in that vehicle? And when I saw it, I was like, what? This is so over the top. 444. Yeah, I think that um I think that they are trying to you remember 6? Oh, you don't remember 6? Yeah, I'm like, "Who remembers? Who remembers 6 people?" Nobody that I've ever come across. Usually you come across, like, younger people, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, there's 6 people." They won't I don't I've never heard that from anyone. I'm gonna have some chocolate. Hey, live stream of Vision Network. What's up? Going down. So, as far as these eclipses and stuff, they are just trying to ratchet up the fear, aren't they? And I feel waves of it sometimes, and I know it's not mine. There's a lot of anxiety in the collective, and I think this video was to help us to address the fear within us, even though, like they call it eustress, EU stress, which means good stress, not just bad stress, but it's fear of change, the stress of feeling that something big is coming. There's this book called The Soul's Code by I think it's anyway, he died. But the whole premise of the book is that when you have a really big destiny, your soul knows it and it reacts to it by either stepping onto that path as a 4-year-old or by hiding from it and doing everything to sabotage because you're like, oh, this is too big for my little self to take in. This great, great purpose that I have. And I think we're all stepping into more of our purpose and stuff like that. So it's very natural to react with fear and self-sabotage and crashing. And I mean, like I did, I literally had to go get in my bed and get under the covers. And I was like, I need to hide. I even needed to do this. But people are starting to see through the matrix too. Not only all these healings, but people are seeing through the matrix. People are seeing their angel wings. And sometimes for just a few sparkles that I see, but I'm like, I saw the fabric of the matrix. I know it. And it's just like that, but I think a lot of us can expect to be having some of these. And the thing is, they seem so ordinary. What movie is it where they go back in time for the Kennedy sniping? I don't know. Oh, tell me about it. I found a new book. I'll email you the link. Let me know what you think. Awesome. And I'm guessing this live stream of Vision Network is someone that I know. It's just your name isn't in there. You'll be back in 15. Okay, Raymond. Well, Raymond, what is that? What is that movie? Holy cow. Because if there is a movie about that, that means that's soft disclosure. I thought it was Dr. Sue. Okay. So I could throw some cards or something. I like the vein of this conversation because it's just so personal. You get to see that this is part of me being a 7 of diamonds, but you get to see that like I really, really struggle with shit sometimes. And I wish I could be here more often. And I think, I don't know. I was like, when do I initiate my little trainer? I love him so much. He's 23. He's from Kansas. He's so sweet and innocent. I was like, you know that January 6th thing? And he goes, yeah, something happened, right? I was like, God bless you. Anyway, I was like, when do I initiate him into the truth that I'm kind of fucked up sometimes? Because every time I showed up for a training, I was like, okay. I was so bright and like, I think coming into a much more profound acceptance of where we're at and what we're experiencing is really necessary. And I guess if this is the insight video that belongs on my other channel, the other thing I want to talk about is being, essence, presence. They're all terms for the same thing. So modern psychology talks about autonomy being this goal that we have to know like it literally means the self-naming. Autonomy. I name myself. Autonomy is like a state of You're not reacting to anyone outside you or depending on anything outside you to determine who you are. But in the basic psychology realm, it's actually the way they define it, it's kind of based on, I don't know, freedom from those things, which is almost a reaction in itself. I'm doing a poor job of describing it. But then he introduces the spiritual concept of being or essence or like our spirit, that eternal part of us, that part of it. And then as I read and read and read, I was like, oh my God, I know exactly what he's talking about. And I'm reading this book also called Time and Again. And it's the idea that simply with consciousness, you can shift into another period of time. And I'll talk more about that because Gene Decode had an experience which confirms precisely what this author was talking about. This was written in the 70s, and it's about a CIA experiment to time travel. And of course, I didn't realize way back when I read it that it's like, what are they telling us? But anyway, get back to presence. So the way I described it is two different things. One is your time-based ego structure, and that's what the cards are based on. The time-based idea of the self, and it has a shit ton of particularities, which is really fun. It's what gives the human experience color. It's what makes the cards so freaking fascinating and all this role play that we do. And then who you really are, and this is when I talk about you're not your card, and it's in this interview. Go look up Paula Kruger and Echo Bodine, and you'll find the interview I did yesterday. And I talk about it there that at Naropa they said never mistake, don't confuse the map for the territory. The map is the cards, the territory is the actual ground where you are. It's your soul, it's who you are inhabiting your body. So, anyway, one is time based, one is timeless. And that's the distinction. There is a timeless aspect of you. Looking out through your eyes, having a sequential experience, which I think is quite remarkable that somehow a way was found for that timelessness to fit into something sequential and time bound. But they're interpenetrating, aren't they? Oh, the Gene Decode experience. I'll share that. Dr. Sue, I'm doing an entire article of 7 of Diamonds and 9 of Hearts. Oh, well, I'd be interested in that because business is a huge challenge for me, as you know. So in this book, shall I continue to talk about this time thing? Because this is really fascinating. So the guy that puts or describes in this fictional account of this guy going back in time, this big experiment that this CIA is doing, he puts forth this question: what day is it? What time is it? And how do you know? You know by the synthetic material in your clothing. You know by the computer that you just looked at. You know by the vehicle. You can just lay in your bed and hear things and be like, oh yes, I'm in 2024, and then you hear a news update or whatever. And he said there are a billion little things tying you to the belief that this is when you are. And he said, what if we eliminated all of those and you put you in a self-controlled, self-hypnotic state? What if we trained you to do that so that you could untether yourself from this time and put yourself in a physical environment? So they put him in a room in the Dakota building in Manhattan because it was built in the early 1880s, and they named it the Dakota building because it was so far away from everything on Fifth Avenue that they said it might as well be in the Dakotas. And yes, that's where John Lennon met his fateful end. Horribly. Anyway, so I just started to think about that, how all the little things, the mind is what keeps us, it's consciousness and belief is what keeps us tethered to time. And it's not a bad thing, it's just the anatomy of the situation. So the experience that Gene Decode had, he and a friend, a young man, they were out in the wilderness, kind of like the backcountry in Colorado, and they were hiking along. And I think they might have been talking about trappers or something, I don't know. I think they were talking about the 1800s. They came upon a couple of trappers who were dressed so authentically. It was off off the chart, and they were new looking clothes. It wasn't this like wrinkled, desiccated evidence we have of what they used to wear. And they had this conversation. Their English was just a little strange, the language, everything, but it was this friendly, interesting encounter. But Gene knew what happened. He was like, we stepped through, like they call them time slips. But I think maybe it's also related to consciousness, and I think that's what therapy is too. When you do EMDR or you get into a hypnotic state or whatever, and you go revisit your past and this traumatic event, I really do think that part of you is traveling through time. Your adult self can be with the child or however old you were when you had the experience, and then the plasticity. If they're doing temporal wars and fucking with the timeline, we can fuck with our own timelines. And that's what therapy is. That's what healing is all about, is I can go reframe this. I can put a new meaning on this. I can not change what happened, but I can transform the energy around it. And to my memory, I can go back there and I can see I removed myself before it happened. And yeah, it still happened, but that form of therapy is powerful enough to merit some real serious questions about what's happening there. What did we do? We still remember the old timeline, but I believe you can get to a point where you don't bear any evidence of the original trauma. Anyway, I don't have the wherewithal to go into the card thing right now. Otherwise, I'd say ask me questions and stuff, but I love you all so much, and I'm just so touched that y'all joined and stayed, even though this was not about the cards. So lovingly accept any kind of self-sabotage you may be doing or witnessing others doing. And just know that people are just scared, that's all. And it's okay to be scared. And then once you realize that you're scared, then another part of you is demonstrating strength and courage in witnessing the fear. And that's just a principle of healing. Allowing something to be one way requires the opposite to hold it. You need courage to face your fear. You need acceptance to look at your judgment, things like that. So anyway, love you. And I'm expecting to do a live on Friday or Saturday, and I hope to schedule it. And I hope to actually schedule the class on the royal archetypes. I'm just going to make it like an hour/hour and a half. Some Saturday, not this coming Saturday, but maybe the following, $40. And I have too much information to fit into one class, and it's going to be so much fun. And then we'll just decide as a group what to do afterwards. And I'll probably do another one because I just keep uncovering more and more information. Like the whole thing about the ace represents the inner child. The jack isn't the child. The jack is the adolescent. I mean, it's fun to think about. There are 4 archetype cards, and maybe those also represent the 4 stages represented by the 4 suits: childhood, adolescence, adulthood, age. Maybe the king is when we finally get to that old part. So I would technically be in my queen right now. Oh, Robert, I haven't provided a pathway for anyone to enroll yet because I'm scared of my future. What you do at this point, and I don't do it because I don't have a date set or a time, but if you go to my website, it is kismet.com, and you look under courses, my dear former business partner friend Laura set it up for me. So if you go there and you see it's called Your Personality. Thank you. I appreciate that. He says, don't be, you are natural. It says, and you can hit add to cart and then pay $40. And I think she set it up that you can actually pay me and I'll get paid. But the thing is, I need to figure out how to, I have to put instructions on there that says, please text me to let me know that you're in the class and give me your email so I can send you the link to the class, the Zoom class. So that's the pieces that I'm kind of intimidated by. And it's called Face Cards, Your Personality Archetypes or something like that. You'll recognize it. Okay. Well, that's all for now. Love and peace to all of you. Have a great day. Bye.